I'd like to call to order the Clarkston Independence District Library Board of Trustees meeting for September 12, 2016. The meeting is called to order at 5:46. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Jane Gaffney. Here. Michelle Gann. Here. Dan Green.
Here.
Mary Hemberg. Here. Sally Lamb. Here. Alex McFadden Kiesling. Here. Marilyn Pomeroy.
Here.
Julie Meredith here.
Okay. I'll accept the motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved. I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve tonight's agenda as presented. Any commentary or questions? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Call to the public.
Okay, nice to be here. Friends did not meet in August, so I don't have a report, but I do want to remind you that the fall book sale is coming up in a couple weeks. Friends Preview Night will be on Tuesday, the September 27th, and then it opens to the public from Wednesday until 2 o'clock on Saturday, so we hope we'll see you there. Volunteers are being recruited on Sign Up Genius, so pass that on to people that you know, even if people can come in for an hour or two, it makes it easier all the way around. And if you'd like to help us promote the book sale, lawn signs are going to be available on Friday, September 23rd here in the library. And you can just stop by and pick up a couple of them and help us promote it throughout the community.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
That ends our call to the public. Tonight is the public hearing on the millage rate, and the public hearing is opening at 5:48.
Let me read the explanation. In accordance with state law, the library must hold a public hearing each year regarding the millage rate and file an L-4029 millage rate request form with the County Clerk Equalization Department, the clerks of the City of the Village of Clarkston, and Independence Township by September 30th. The library board will provide a public hearing to formally state the millage rate that has been voted upon by the residents of the library district, adjustments to that rate due to the Headley Amendment, and approve a resolution formally accepting the rate. Due to the Headley Amendment, the district library millage rate of 1.25 that was approved by the voters in the library district on August 5th of 2014 was rolled down to 1.2423 in 2015 and will be rolled down to 1.2287 in 2016.
Thank you. You're welcome. So if there were any public members who wish to comment on the millage rate at this time, if not, the public hearing on the millage rate is closing at 5:50. The public hearing on the budget is also this evening. You want to speak to that one first?
Why don't we go ahead and open it like we did the last?
I'd like to open that hearing on the budget at 5:51.
In accordance with state law, the library must post a public notice in the newspaper at least 1 week prior to a public hearing and approval of the annual budget. The budget must be available for the public to review from the time of the public notice. The public hearing is then the forum for the community to address the library board regarding the proposed budget. After the public hearing, the library board will make a final review of the budget, make any adjustments if needed, and pass a resolution approving the annual budget for the coming year.
Okay. The review of these items will take place during item 1 of the agenda tonight. If there are no public comments on the budget, the public hearing is closed at 5:52. I will accept an approval of the consent agenda next.
So moved. I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we present the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to remove any item? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Motion is carried. Library statistics.
So I have some notes from the staff on the statistics of some highlights from the head of technical services and the head of circulation IT manager. In March of 2016, we set a new record of 3,064 wireless users. And in August of 2016, we broke that record with 3,122. So we're getting an increase in our wireless users. The Summer Reading Carnival attracted over 400 visitors in just over 2 hours. Overall visitors in August were up 8% over August of 2015. On the last Sunday in August, we had 566 renewals on 562 items. This means that some items probably auto-renewed and a patron or two logged in to renew without realizing they were already renewed, meaning they lost a renewal. Circulation clerks are working very hard to consistently explain the auto-renew service and help prevent those additional issues. So that was very, very small.
Yes, 4.
There's two different ways to look at this. The first one is we had 4 books that got renewed twice inadvertently, but the good news is we had 560 some that were renewed without any issue, which means that the circulation staff is doing a pretty good job getting that word out there. But we're going to try a little harder and see if we can get that to.
Now, if the item had a hold on it,
It does not auto-renew.
but you wouldn't know if there was a hold on it, would you? If you were the,
The email notification identifies
Would
it,
count, okay.
and it will say these items renewed and these items are still due.
okay.
So, yeah, it's very clear in the email how that works, because
Okay.
they do get notification about it. Brad reported that downloads were up 14% again in August. Hoopla is becoming very popular, and he sees that patrons are immediately checking out items on the first of the month because their allotment of 5 for the previous month have been used up. And so on the first, they're going in and checking out things that they've had their eye on. So we know that people are using it and we know they're excited about it. So we hope that will continue to grow.
Okay, and the statistics are all
listed
there in case anyone wants to take a look at the changes.
And I gave you some highlights at least.
I like having the notes, the highlights, because sometimes it takes.
It's a lot of numbers, I know.
Right, and I didn't really think about that, and so if they help me out and tell me, this is what's really good here, that's, I like that.
This is the exciting part that we've seen,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
We're
if you
trying to
pass-
do that more consistently.
Yeah, pass that along to the staff, let them know.
And we
like
thank
that.
them.
I will definitely do that. I'll make a note so I don't forget to do that.
Next, the library director's report.
Okay. In terms of buildings and grounds, we are in the final stages of phase 2 of the parking lot reconstruction project. I know I said this last month as well. We're still working on it. We still have one walkway light fixture that isn't lighting properly, and we are waiting on a replacement fixture. ASI still needs to complete the finished work, including the crosswalk, adjusting the handicap parking signs, and installing the concrete collars around the 2 storm drains. The structural slab is scheduled to be redone on Friday, October 7th, when the library is closed for staff training, and I believe the other remaining work will also be done that day. Allied is working on correcting the footings on the columns at the entrance. They were here on Friday to remove the incorrect footings and will be communicating with our engineer regarding the best time to re-pour them, coordinate with the re-pouring of the structural slab in that same area. National Restoration was here last week, working on the retaining wall and slab outside the meeting room fire exit. They were also resetting the first few rows of the bricks on the paver patio. The work is mostly complete, but they do need to stand the new blocks in the retaining wall to match the rest. And they're trying to replace a brick in the brick paver patio that must have gotten lost or damaged during the concrete work back in May. He got it all done. He said, "Do you have this extra brick?" And I said, "No." So he went looking for it and he didn't find it. So right now he's in the process of seeing if he can find something that will match. And if not, he will shuffle it to a less obvious spot and see what he can do about that. So hard when you lose a brick.
Yes.
Spartan Paving filled the potholes at the back of the parking lot to get us through until phase 3 in the spring. So thank you very much to the board for helping us take care of that.
They look good. I drove specifically to look at them.
Drove over to make sure they're nice
Yes.
and smooth. I did too. The tree barber came to groom the bushes along the stairs and the island, and he also cut back the trees along the delivery drive, actually Marilyn was the one who noticed that and pointed that out, that were broken off by a large truck last week. So we have trimmed those back so that they are no longer.
The bushes look really nice.
They do look much better. And something for everyone to keep in mind, he was trying to open them up so that that light will shine on the steps better. That was one of the issues that we had. So this was a corrective measure, not just an aesthetic measure. But this winter, as people are coming and going, when it's dark when we close, if you happen to notice that not enough light is getting on the sidewalk, please speak up and we'll try to fix that further. He tried to cut it back enough so the light would get through, but not get the bushes so that they looked like they were little skeletons. So, but he said he would come back and touch it up if we were seeing that it was a problem. So, don't hesitate to speak up if you think it's not right. In terms of project updates, the library's hardware team has conducted another community conversation that resulted in some very useful feedback. There are additional conversations scheduled on the following dates. We're doing one for seniors at the Senior Center on September 19th at 2. We have one for the business community on Thursday, September 22nd at 6:30 p.m. here in the library's meeting room. We have one for the Chamber of Commerce Board on Thursday, October 6th at 8 a.m. at the Chamber of Commerce office. We have one that's open to the public on Monday, October 10th at 2 p.m. at the Senior Center. We're doing a special one for the Rotary Club on Monday, October 10th at 6:30 p.m. At Buckshot's Grill, which is where they usually meet. We have one for teens that will be on Tuesday, November 15th from 6 to 7. That will be in a bridge. It won't be quite as long as some of the other ones. That will be in the library's youth activities room. And we just scheduled one for the Friends of Depot Park committee on Wednesday, November 16th at 7 p.m. also in the library's community meeting room. Anyone interested in participating in one of the conversations can call the library at 248-625-2212 or register on the library's website at www.indylive.org.
Julie, what does the open to the public one, what does that mean?
That one means absolutely anyone is welcome. Some of them are a little bit more targeted to specific demographics. For example, one is for the businesses, one is for for seniors. Open to the public is all ages.
Feel like talking about.
Ages 16 and up. In terms of finances, the library board treasurer and I have been reviewing some additional bank and investment options for the library's funds, which we talked about last month, and I had reported I was going to bring a plan, but we recommend a budget workshop to review the options in depth, and selecting a date and time for that meeting is an agenda item on tonight's meeting. And then in terms of collaborations, the library board and the Friends board have been discussing the draft of the formal agreement between the library and the Friends of the Library. Both boards have provided feedback of minor changes that could be made before reviewing the final draft, and I'm having the attorney take care of those. Since both boards have full meeting agendas in September, the Friends have their book sale coming up and they have a lot of material on their agenda, and you have the budget this month, so I will bring this agreement forward for both boards to review at their October meetings. So it's still in the works, but I didn't want you to think that it had been set aside.
Thank you.
My comment and question is a point of grammar
Oh dear, I'm sorry.
on this promotion.
Yes.
Shouldn't that be to what do you aspire?
Well, it falls into the same situation as What Do You Geek? It's part of the campaign, and we know that, and we struggled with that significantly, and trying to decide whether we should change it. So yes, the answer
I would.
That sounds slightly awkward.
Yeah, it's.
The answer is yes, and the campaign, that's the materials that, so yes, you are absolutely correct, and we are fully aware of it, and we fought with it and didn't know what to do,
And it
so.
could be that I'm just an old guy in a different generation, but I,
Well, we had the same problem when we did the geek campaign and What Do You Geek, and we had several people correct us that geek wasn't really a verb and we shouldn't be using it as such. So, yeah, this is the same kind of thing, actually.
well, it was a question.
Yep.
Okay, I'm done.
Thank you. We need those reviews anyway.
You don't have a
You know
real
how
good
often
answer
we're
for that.
writing something, I think, is it this way or is it that way? Trying to remember. All right, ready for regular business. Number one, let us look again at the budget for 2017.
Looks like my computer has gone to sleep, so hold on a second. Let's see if I can get it.
In large print.
Okay. So what I'd like to do is first go over the revenue section. Oops. The revenue section. So the revenue section will be this bottom half down here, this bottom portion, from here down. The board has it in their packets, and I'll head up on the screen for the public. In terms of millage, as I said, the millage rate is 1.2287. Headley has rolled it down. In terms of revenue, that would bring in $1,839,687. Obviously, that's an estimate. CIA capture, I did contact the assessor, and the CIA capture is $10,418 approximately. State aid is the money that we do get from the state of Michigan. This money is not as reliable as we'd like for it to be. This year, we received about $22,000. I always budget low for this because we're on a different fiscal year than the state is, and we never know when the state is going to make changes in their budget that then affect ours. So I always budget a little bit low in order to make sure that we aren't making cuts later in the year. So I budgeted a conservative $12,000 for this. Penal fines. Penal fines is that portion of money in the state's constitution that we get for a little bit from traffic tickets, a little bit from court costs. There's a large formula, and that money is divided up amongst a number of organizations, including libraries. The number from 2014, 2015, 2016, or 2014 and 2015 had been low. Actually, in 2016, it shot way up to about $70,000, but it had gotten as low as $40,000. And so, in an effort to be conservative in that, I've budgeted for $50,000. We don't know until the check comes, and it does usually come. You saw it in your meeting packet about a month ago. It really depends on how many people get traffic tickets and have court costs. When the bottom fell out of the economy and there was a cutback in the amount of patrols, police patrols and such, they were issuing fewer tickets. People who were having financial difficulties were less likely to pay those penal costs, and so the amount of money that we were getting from that went down significantly. Apparently things are better in the economy, police forces are doing more traffic tickets and the like, and the number went up to $70,000, but I'm always a little bit wary, like state aid, that number is a moving target, you don't really know. So I estimated $50,000, which is a little bit more than what we were getting at its lowest when we were only getting about $40,000, but it's not as optimistic as we could have it see another $70,000 a year. Fines and fees, those are the actual fines for materials, library materials. And also the fees that we charge for room rentals and things like that. That we use specifically an amount of historic measure. I budgeted $20,000 last year. I'm only budgeting $18,000 this year. Since we started doing auto renew, we know that people are not having late fees as frequently. We haven't had auto renew long enough to see what kind of an effect that might have on our budget. The public loves it, so I think we should definitely keep that service, but I budgeted a little more conservatively there just to be on the safe side. Duplicating and photocopying is exactly what it sounds like. That's our photocopier and our printers in our building. That helps defray the cost of toner and paper and the like. That's another number that we estimate. It just depends on how much people are printing and that sort of thing. But about $1,800 is a nice conservative amount. Interest, that depends on how we invest our money. We will have additional money to invest this year, so I think that will go up, but I wanted to stay with a conservative $3,000 until the board approves how that money will be invested going forward. And then E-rate. E-rate is the federal fund. It's like a grant that helps us pay for our broadband internet service. The number is actually based on the number of, or the percentage of children in our school district that are eligible for the free lunch program. And then it pays for a percentage of our internet access in order to help us provide for those children that may not have internet service at home. And it helps us provide fast internet service as opposed to, say, dial-up or something along those lines. We do have a fiber optic line This last year, the amount that came in was about $7,000, but we have been traditionally getting $5,500. So I went ahead and budgeted $5,000 conservatively. I don't like to overestimate what might come in. I hate getting partway in the year and discovering that we may not have enough money to cover what our estimated costs are going to be. So all total, that brings us to $1,919,069. Any questions on revenue? Nope. So I'm going to put this up on the screen. I'm hoping it's all going to fit. It does. Excellent. Okay. I'm going to leave this up on the screen, and I'm going to use my paperwork that's at my chair. Make it a little bit easier for everybody. Okay. So in the memo that I gave to the board, as I pointed out, there is a draft of the budget in your packet. And this is the information and the paperwork that was available to the public. It has been on our website. It was available in the library. We were providing free copies for anybody who requested it. Just to go over the details again, 1.2287 is the millage rate as rolled down by Headley for the coming year. The money coming in, $1,919,069. And following the guiding principles for the 2016 budget, so I'm going to talk just briefly about what we've done in 2016. The following improvements were made. We executed phase 2 of the parking lot reconstruction project, including all new concrete walkways and lighting across the entrance of the building and improved handicap parking. We completed many significant small building repairs to improve patron experience. We increased and improved programming for children, teen, and adults, improved both print and downloadable collections, expanded use of electronic and social media communications to share programs and services with residents, upgraded the website features and made it more mobile-friendly, won a grant to train staff in the Harwood Institute's Turning Outward Techniques, and launched a year-long community conversation project to better understand our residents' aspirations and how the library can be a part of moving the community forward. In 2017, the guiding principles for the budget include specifically employment cost assumptions used to prepare this budget. In 2017, the minimum wage will increase from $8.50 to $8.90 per hour. Healthcare premiums will once again increase approximately 7.9%. Staffing usually accounts for 50 to 65% of the library's budget. Staffing reflects 59% of the 2017 operating budget. In terms of revenue assumptions, the district-wide millage of 1.25 mils rolled back to 1.2287 by the Headley Amendment. State aid to libraries increased slightly in 2016. Penal fine increased again in 2016. Library fine and duplicating revenues decreased slightly. Significant changes to the 2017 budget when compared to the 2016 budget are as follows. And this you can see the column that is to the far left, that's 2017, and the column just next to it would be 2016 as amended thus far this year. Staffing costs were adjusted to accommodate an increase in library services and usage. Staffing usually accounts for 50 to 65% of the library's budget. The staffing plan reflects 59% of the 2017 operating budget. Now, one of the things I do, it's not quite, you can't quite see it at the top of the screen. Sorry about that. My screen is not quite big enough. I don't want to shrink it, it's already hard to see. Okay, so if you look at wages in 2016, for full-time we had 505,000, and we took it down to 503. Allison made a very good observation that number has gone down a little bit, and the reason it has gone down a little bit is because when we were estimating for this year, I talked to the accountant about this. When you're calculating out the annual budget, our pay periods overlap at the beginning and the end of the year. And so when I put that number in, I put a little bit of a cushion in there to make sure that I didn't inadvertently put us under budget or put us over budget by not having enough money to cover. It's very difficult when you're calculating, what's on 2016 was calculated out by pay period, so there's a little bit of a cushion to make sure that when the accountant goes to take that out, it's hard to explain. For example, the last week of December, there were 3 days in 2015 that we paid in 2016, and they were attributed to the 2016 budget. So when you get to the end of the year, it looks like we would be over budget, except that before audit, the accountant then takes that money and puts it back in 2015 where it belongs. Except that at that last meeting of the year, it looks like we're over budget. And so I put a little cushion in there to make sure that doesn't happen. Now that we're getting closer to the end of the year, I have a better idea of making sure that that will come out properly. And so I leave that little cushion in there just so that it doesn't look like we're over budget. But 503 is a little more accurate than 505. So that's how that happened. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And it answers Allison's question. Okay. Because she asked me that question, I tried to explain it, and I realized I didn't explain it very well.
That's clear.
Okay. The other thing I want you to notice is the part-time budget. That looks like it's a big drop in part-time budget. I want you to notice in 2015, between 2015 and 2016, we increased the budget significantly. We have a retail model of scheduling our part-time employees. That means when we are really busy, we schedule people as needed. When we are not really busy, we reduce hours. For 2016, we knew we were seeing a lot of growth, and so we put a significant amount of money in that budget in order to be able to make sure we had the people we need to staff properly. Between 2016 and 2017, now we are close enough to the end of 2017, and I can see that that is more money than we need, and later in this year, you can make budget adjustments and put that money into other projects. But 2017, I'm feeling confident that that's the number that we will need. So that's why you're seeing a reduction there. This amount of money, you will be seeing that you'll be able to move some of that money out of that budget and use it for some projects that we've been hoping to do. Any questions? Okay, great. I knew that one was going to create questions. So I just wanted to address that one right off the top. Thank you. Okay. As I said, the increase in health insurance budget is to accommodate the estimated 7.9% increase. There's a decrease in subscriptions that reflects a shift to less expensive, more user-friendly web-based resources. There's a decrease in operating supplies. In 2016, we had a special project we were working on, and so there was extra money in that so that Brad could do his recasing of the DVD collection. And he's done doing that, fortunately. We're all done doing that. So that's reduced because that project is complete. There's a decrease in professional and contract services due to the completion of the 2016 special projects. There's an increase in special events budget to provide expanded programming for all ages. There was a request by both the children's department and the adult department for some additional funds in order to do more programming. So they have some great new ideas. So we put a little bit of a bump up there. There is a decrease in legal fees determined based on usage in 2015 and 2016. We had a bigger cushion in there. We have fortunately not had to use our attorney as much as we maybe did when we were working on some legal projects, so I reduced that number down. There's a decrease in the building and grounds maintenance due to completion of the 2016 special projects. There's an increase in equipment maintenance, and it reflects a slight increase in cost for service agreements for some of our equipment. Some of our equipment is aging, and the service agreements get more expensive as they age. There's a decrease in refunds and rebates, MTT, which was determined by usage in 2015 and 2016. That's the budget that we have set aside for when people go to the Board of Review to have their taxes reassessed, and that we have to return money in that regard. We had been budgeting $20,000 a year for that, and the amount that we've actually been using is much, much lower than that. Closer to less than $5,000. So we've decreased that down to about $10,000 just to make sure that there's plenty of money there if need be, but I'm feeling confident that that's probably a solid number. Decrease in building reflects that phase 3 of the parking lot reconstruction project is less complicated and less expensive, way less complicated, but less expensive than phase 2, which we're all excited about. So.
Very clear, thank you.
Are there any questions about that? No?
It's very clearly stated, too.
Yes.
Thank you.
So in terms of the other items that are in your packet, you have the updated capital improvement plan. That's the horizontal spreadsheet. It does reflect that we have completed phase 2 of the parking lot, and that we will be attacking phase 3 in the spring. I'm already talking to, for Albert, we're not done with phase 2, I'm already talking to him about phase 3. Albert is our engineer. We're already putting together the RFP that we will have prepared before the end of the year. We will bid it out either in December or January in an effort to be on the spring project list again. In terms of other projects, the board discussed some capital improvements that we would like to think about. One that you were interested in doing was definitely to work on point of sale at the circulation desk to make the acceptance of credit cards available to the public. That is something that we would really like to do. That one, I have our IT manager working on already, and we will come to you with a proposed budget for that project, possibly before the end of the year or in the beginning of 2017. We also talked about the issue with the doors. The front door and the back door have been problematic, the handicapped controls of the doors and those kinds of things. So we do know that the front door, an estimate, this just blows my mind, but we estimate that the front door will probably be somewhere between $15,000 and $25,000. I know, it's a lot of money, but it needs to be discussed and it needs to be addressed. So we'll look into that potentially in 2017. The other door issue would be our delivery door, our big metal delivery doors in the back. That one's much more reasonable. That one would be about $7,000 to $10,000 probably. So we'll look at doing that as well. We would like to do space planning and redo the computer lab, and the board seemed to be supportive of that project. We would like to do some space planning in our storage area. We would like to at least have a plan in place. We may not fund that project this year, but we definitely want to look at maximizing the storage space. And then the last project that the public, or that the staff and the board was interested in was looking at the phone system. So, our 1992 analog phones. Although they do still answer, and they do all right, but that's one of the things. So those were the four main projects that came up. Are there any, does that still sound like what you were thinking that you would like to work on? Okay. All right. In terms of technology inventory, we're actually in pretty good shape. You'll remember that in 2015, you budgeted $70,000 to tackle technology in the library. So we improved all of the computers. What we didn't improve was the workspace, the actual computer lab, the furniture and the space. And so that's when I say space planning, that's what we're talking about. So that wouldn't show up in terms of being a technology budget line item. It would still be a building line item because we're talking about furniture and walls and things like that. But in terms
does that include wiring?
we would have to put wiring in, but in terms of the big picture, the part that will be expensive will be the actual physical space.
Okay.
Because we already did all the computers, all the servers in 2015. And if you look at this, in terms of priority of replacement, all of the items listed, anything that is listed as a priority 1 would be something that we should be considering doing within the next year. Anything that's a priority 2 would be within the next 2 years. And anything that's a priority 3 was just replaced and should be in good shape. So the things that we're looking at in terms of priority 1 would be our self-check stations, which are from 2004. Our security camera system and the security cameras themselves, also from 2004. And then in terms of items that are priority 2, the RFID security gates, those are from 2004. They're a very pricey item. We're in the process of trying to figure out the workability of putting them in that space, because we're actually running into issues because the metal pull-down gate, which we also call security gate, so that makes it nice and confusing, but the gate that comes down that separates the building from the lobby so that we can still use the meeting room after hours, that is a lot of metal. And when we put the security gates in that space, some security gates will work being that close to all that metal and some won't. So we're in the process of trying to figure out which ones do and which ones don't in order to get a better ballpark figure of what that could cost. Because those gates can be anywhere from $25,000 to $40,000. As I know, nothing is cheap. in a building this size. The phone system, obviously, we just talked about, is listed as a priority, our priority one. That's from 1992 when the building was built. Any questions about any of those projects? Okay. It was pointed out to me that there is a typo in the resolution that you need to pass in order to complete the budget process. So I have, for your convenience, it's on page 2. Thank you, Jan, for catching that. I didn't even see it. And I have highlighted it on this piece of paper so that you can see what it is. Essentially, the statement in section 11 of transfer authority says that I, as the administrator, do not have the authority to move any more than $5,000 without board approval. But the way it's worded, some libraries allow that to be a percentage. We do not have a percentage in our policy, and it was worded to accommodate a library that also had a percentage, and we do not. So it says whichever, there's a word, a couple of words in there that says whichever is, I think whichever is less.
Whichever is less,
Yes,
and I
yes.
was trying to
And
figure out.
there's only
what-
one, we only have one choice. I can't shuffle around more than $5,000,
So we
so.
just took out whichever is less.
So we took out whichever is less, I just fixed that sentence. But I made it nice and bright so that it was easy to find it.
It was, thank you.
That helped.
That helped me too. So I think when you do your motion, you'll want to put in there that it's approve the resolution as corrected. And because it's a resolution, it does need to be a roll call vote. The attorney did set it up so that you can do one resolution, including the roll call, and it sets the millage rate and the budget, which is why she likes us to do this all together in September. Makes it a little bit simpler.
Okay. Are we ready for a motion? Under review and approval of the 2017 budget.
I move to approve the resolution as corrected, setting the millage rate and establishing the Clarkston Independence District Library 2017 budget.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution as corrected to set the millage rate and establish the Clarkston Independence District Library 2017 budget. We've discussed this at length in a public meeting and here. Are there any other questions, comments?
Good job, Julie. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good job.
In that case, we'll call the question. Please call roll.
Jane Gaffney,
Yes.
Michelle Yin,
Yes.
Dan Green,
Yes.
Mary Himberg,
Yes.
Sally Lamb,
Yes.
Allison McFadden-Keeson,
Yes.
Marilyn Pomeroy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the motion has been approved. Now, number 2. Let's look at review and approval of an engagement letter for the 2016 and 2017 audits.
At the budget workshop on August 23rd, the library board discussed who would be doing the future audits and instructed the library director to request a quote and engagement letter from the current auditor, Abraham and Gaffney, no relation to our library board member, for the 2016 and 2017 audits. So you have in your packet the engagement letter. They are, put it in a nutshell, 2016, they are saying $6,200, and in 2017, $6,600.
What was the amount again?
$6,200 and $6,600.
And how much did we pay for,
$6,000 this year.
so not a
Not
huge
a
increase?
significant increase, no.
I move that we approve the engagement letter from Abraham and Gaffney, no relation, for the 2016 and 2017 audits as presented, and authorize the library director to sign the paperwork.
I'll second that.
Okay, there's been moved and seconded that we approve the engagement letter for a slight increase. Any comments or questions? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Thank you. That was a long statement.
Audit statements are like that.
Yes. All right.
Library attorneys.
Next item, discussion plan to replace the structural slab at the entrance.
During the concrete work of Phase 2 of the library's parking lot reconstruction project, the structural slab was not poured per our engineer's board-approved design. The engineer and contractor negotiated a plan to redo the area in question without additional cost to the library. The board approved documentation at their July 11th meeting stating that the work would be done at a time agreeable to both parties. Upon signing that agreement, the timeline discussed to do the work was Labor Day weekend during the library's 3-day closure. Unfortunately, the contractor was having issues getting concrete to execute the work at that time. The engineer and library director have renegotiated that the structural slab will be re-poured on Friday, October 7th, when the library is closed for our staff training day. They will be using a quick cure concrete that will allow patrons to walk on the slab after 24 hours, but the engineer is concerned that if they pour the slab late in the day, there won't be enough time for the concrete to cure and time for the library to open at 10 a.m. on Saturday. He has spoken to the contractor about providing a plywood walkway to protect the concrete while it cures, but recommends that the library board consider closing on Saturday, October 8th to ensure the concrete will be fully cured by the time the library opens at 1 p.m. on Sunday, October 9th. So,
This is open for discussion.
it's open for discussion.
Would this plywood walkway be here or would it be?
We don't really
Indoor.
have, the problem that we have with our building is that it's not conducive to bringing the public in any other location.
That's
other
what I
than
wondered
here.
when if the plywood walkway is going over.
It would go over it, it would be a bridge.
So
Not
I
ideal.
see a problem in trying to open the door.
Me too. Because the concrete slab comes right up to the...
Yes,
yeah.
It does.
Well, if you closed on Saturday, the 8th, would that take wage away from employees?
Well, actually, because we're doing a staff training day on Friday, that's extra hours for our part-time employees because they will be coming in for a full day of training in addition to their regular hours. So that actually is additional hours that we would be paying out that week. What we would do for the full-time staff is anybody who was scheduled to work on Saturday would have to work a different day in the week. So
So nobody would lose.
nobody would
nobody just won't start.
I have another question. It's not foremost in my mind right now, so I can't remember. We do not close on Columbus Day then?
No.
Okay.
And we also don't close on Veterans Day. That was a change the board made last year. We used to close on Veterans Day, yep, and we no longer close on Veterans Day, so. Yeah, we don't have any other multi-day closures. That was really tough because the engineer called me and he said, what's your slowest day of the week? And I said, Thursday, but, you know, Wednesday is busy and Friday could be busy and Saturday is busy. And so, you know, a slow day doesn't really make it any better for us because we really don't have, even though we have added a nice slab outside this meeting room door to come in, to come and go for story time, it's not an ideal way for people to come and go from the building. And I said to him, are you comfortable with me routing people through here and not having that be a liability? And he said, not really. So the only other way would be through our delivery room, except our delivery room, as you know, is prepped for the book sale and is not really in any condition for public transportation through it.
Do you think it would help the public out a little bit if we opened early on Sunday?
I don't know that they would come any earlier on
Yeah.
Sunday. We could. I mean, that's a possibility. The thing that's most important is that we give people enough notice.
That's what I wondered because.
And that's why we're having this conversation now. 3 weeks notice, books check out for 3 weeks. So we need to give the public at least 3 weeks notice. That's why we had such a problem with them getting the concrete for Labor Day because they did not tell me they couldn't get the concrete until the Monday before the Labor Day closure. That's not enough time for me to tell the public don't come on Friday. We already have materials due that day. And as we saw when they didn't give us enough notice for Memorial Day, the line of people who were walking under the excavator buckets to get up to the door was just frightening to me. So if we're going to close, this at least gives us plenty of time to let people know.
I'm back to the temporary bridge. Did they actually come and look at that and figure out a way that, or is this just a proposal that on paper?
They're saying that if the board absolutely positively does not want to close, they will come up with a way to make it work, but it will not be an ideal situation. The engineer is saying that he thinks we should close.
Sounds like it could be dangerous to have that
I would think
bridge.
we'd have to leave the doors open all the time. I mean, once, just get them open and then leave them open.
Possibly.
But of course, if there were anyone anyone who needed mobility, who had mobility issues, small children, I just see a problem if that, I don't like this, we would have preferred it
Right.
over Labor
Right,
Day,
exactly.
but that's not an option, so
It
therefore,
would have been nice to have it done right the first time.
yes.
Would have been really nice.
The if in here is if it's poured later in the day, then it wouldn't have enough time to cure by 10 a.m. on Saturday.
His worry is they're saying they're gonna come and pour it right out of the gate and it'll be cured by 10 a.m. on Saturday, but he's saying if the truck comes late, if anything goes awry and they don't get it poured till 2 or 3 in the
Well,
afternoon.
they also have to break this one up and.
Exactly.
Right, so I don't see, I mean,
In an ideal world, it could potentially be done, but.
yeah,
his
but we
concern-
can't find out on Friday afternoon that we can't open on Saturday. We have to make a decision now. We can't,
Yeah.
leave it at
And how
that.
many times is anything done exactly the way you planned it?
But never.
And that's sort of what Albert said, yeah.
What is already on the calendar for October 8th?
The only thing that we have on the calendar for October 8th is the Lions Club vision screening. And I did call Chris Savage about it, and I said, we've got this situation where we may have to close because they're redoing this slab. And I suggested to them that they could have the Saturday prior or the Saturday after. And I suggested to her that she might actually like to be the Saturday prior, which would be the last day of the book sale, and we have a lot of traffic that day. So she was very excited about the possibility of doing it that day. They have been doing the second Saturday of the month for years. And it's, but this is enough notice that we can let people know that, and they have the ability to do it on a day when there'll be a lot more traffic. They'll probably get more drop-ins as opposed to what they would get on that Saturday the 8th.
It's a win-win.
It will be for them. It sounds like they may even, in the future, plan to do the second Saturday of the month like they always do, and the Saturday of the book sale, because they can do that in the little room. And
So that would be okay with them.
If we're going to be open on Sunday, which is a really busy day. Yeah. I mean, I know Saturday's busy too. I know every day's busy. I know Saturday's busy, but
It's too bad they can't pour it on Thursday.
Well, there was a discussion about the possibility of pouring it at night. And Albert was not really comfortable with that either, because he didn't want them, first of all, he didn't want them breaking it out at night for the sake of the neighbors. And second of all, his concern was getting a really good look at it once it's been torn out and made sure that it's right before they pour it.
Even on a Friday at 6, I know that was my question back on Labor Day weekend.
Yep.
Even then, it would be dark by the time they got to the inspection.
And he was concerned about that part. He said, it's already not right. And he said, we want it, the whole point of doing it over is for it to be right this time. Let's maximize
that's right.
the ability to make it right, because this needs to last us 25 years, so, or more.
I will accept a motion.
I move that how do I say this? I move that we approve the closing of the library on October 8th to facilitate the replacement of the structural slab.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we close on Saturday, October 8th, in addition to Friday, in order to facilitate the curing of the replacement slab. All those, any questions or comments? Is that-
Since we're already closed on October 7th, but do we need to put that in there too?
I don't think so.
No, we've
It's
already-
already, that was just an
That's
explanation.
okay, that's just what I wondered. I didn't want to confuse the
Yeah, no.
public thinking.
So we're just discussing, we've
closed,
already,
but
right, we already
for different
discussed
reasons.
closing on the 7th for in-service.
Mhm.
So now the motion is to close on the 8th to facilitate the curing of the slab. Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Thank you.
Now, let's talk about circulation.
Okay. Circulation staff has been working on a project to update and streamline their policies and procedures. While writing and reviewing a number of procedures, it was discovered that the circulation policy included several statements that were actually procedural in nature. Those instructions were added to the circulation procedure manual, and those details have been removed from the policy. The head of circulation IT manager is requesting board approval of this streamlined policy. So, for example, there was something in there that said, staff should put initials in this box. Really didn't need to be in the policy. If they were to change where they want staff to put the initials, we shouldn't have to come back to the board for approval of that. So he's asking that you remove that from the policy.
So remove procedural steps.
Yep, and they have been added to the procedure manual, which the staff has access to over the circulation.
And so everyone has a copy of the patron, of the policy, the patron eligibility policy, and the fines and fees policy. Are there any questions?
I was impressed by the 60 items. It always startles me. It's great. It always surprised me that we have 60 items.
We want to see you carrying out 60 items.
That's what I was thinking. I'd have to make more than one trip to the car.
Although
That's why
I
we have
bring
that.
small children sometimes,
Sometimes
each
it
grabbing,
does.
like
Yeah.
5 books or
Yeah.
something.
That's true. That's true.
Okay, I'll accept a motion.
I move that we approve the updated circulation policy as presented.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the updated circulation policy as presented. Any further comment or questions? If not, all those in favor of the updated policy, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is approved. And the last item on tonight's agenda,
On August 9th, the library and the township executed the transfers of funds as described in the agreement regarding retiree healthcare funding and the agreement regarding negative cash. The library board needs to review the funds and discuss options regarding how to proceed, so a special meeting date will be determined. So, when would you like to meet? I'll bring up the calendar.
sooner
Sooner
rather than later.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
It's not my appointments, but
I could do next Monday, same time.
Yeah.
Or earlier, but I know
I can't make it earlier.
Right, I know.
Yeah.
I know. That's why.
We're looking right now at the 19th, where she's looking to see what we have here.
Just trying to make sure that the meeting room calendar's not coming up, but it,
Yeah.
come on, just a second. Come on. Technology is grand when it works, but when it doesn't.
I think I could do.
So, okay. So we are looking at September 19th, you said? Yes, it appears that that would be fine.
Great. Okay, is that acceptable to everyone? What time are we talking about?
If you want to meet at 5:30, I can see. I don't know if I can.
5:45 again?
Same.
5:45 works.
Don't
for me, but-
confuse us, right?
Yeah, okay, that sounds great to me. But I mean,
Okay.
because I know other people can meet at 5:30, I can just squeak in if that's okay.
You'd be finished at close to 7, wouldn't you?
I would assume, yes, that it would probably be.
So
I was
stick to
trying to-
5:45 then?
Yeah, that sounds
Okay.
good.
Sounds great.
5:45.
And
So 5:45, Monday, next Monday, the 19th.
In the youth activities room.
Yeah.
And Julie, the committee that's meeting about the future banking and all of that, does that impact this? Do you need to have that kind of?
Jan and I actually met, and she gave me direction on the kinds of data that I should pull together for you, so I can have that ready without any issue at all.
Okay, that'd be
So
great.
it was more of a situation where there are several options,
Mhm.
and so you really need to be able to kind of roll up your sleeves and look it all over and shuffle things around, and maybe send me back to do more research if you pick a particular direction, that kind of thing, so. And then it's also a discussion of the OPEB, so.
Right.
The 19th at 5:45?
19th at 5:45.
We're meeting here, or are we meeting in the?
In the little room. Yeah, it's in the little room. I think the last time you made a motion for that.
Someone want to make a motion to hold our special meeting?
I move that we set a special meeting date to discuss the RHFV funds on Monday, September 19th at 5:45.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we hold an RHVF fund meeting for discussion on the 19th at 5:45 in the children's meeting room. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion is carried, and I will now accept a motion for adjournment.
So move.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we will adjourn at 6:42.